Discretion is advised. This is 10-Minute Murder.
Christine Falling was born in Perry, Florida in 1963. Her original last name was Slaughter, but it was changed to Falling after her 16-year-old mother surrendered Christine and her older sister for adoption when they were both toddlers. Christine's father was 5 decades older than her teenage mother. He was a violent and controlling man who terrorized his underage spouse. From the moment she was born, Christine's childhood was tough. She suffered from seizures, had aggressive outbursts, and was described as being dull-witted by the people that knew her. For the rest of her life, her language skills never advanced beyond a 6th grade level. As a young child, Christine developed a habit of wreaking havoc on the neighborhood cats. She later admitted that she strangled the animals as a way of showing them her love. After she heard the myth that cats had 9 lives, she decided to test the theory by throwing cats from the top of the tallest buildings that she could find, which was usually fatal. By the time she was rehomed to a children's refuge at 9 years of age, Christine had become obese, and you couldn't count the number of cats that she had harmed at this point. The staff at the children's home described her as being a disobedient thief who lied for fun, and the other children bullied Christine for her low intelligence and obesity. When she was only 14 years old, Christine got married to a man who was a decade older than her. But the marriage lasted for less than 2 months. Their reason for divorce was frequent outbursts of violence and constant fighting, which was unsurprising given that Christine had grown up believing that strangulation was an appropriate way to show love. During one of the arguments she had with her husband, Christine grabbed a 25-pound stereo, which she threw at him as hard as she could. And this was likely not the outcome that the man expected when he chose a 14-year-old bride, and the couple broke up shortly afterwards. After her marriage ended, Christine's mental health plummeted. For more than a year, she became an extreme hypochondriac, constantly convinced that she was seriously ill. Every week, she thought she had a different disease. Over this time period, she took herself to the hospital at least once a week, but every time, the doctors found no sign of illness that they could treat. Christine was now in her mid-teens, had already been divorced, had no stable income. She decided to work as a babysitter, caring for the kids of her family members and neighbors. Despite her intellectual difficulties and her disheveled appearance, Christine quickly became a trusted babysitter and was known for being reliable and good with children. But when she turned 17, this reputation began to change. On the 25th of February 1980, she was tasked with caring for a local girl, 2-year-old Cassidy Johnson. 3 days later, Cassidy passed away. Cassidy's parents rushed her to the hospital shortly after Christine's babysitting shift ended, and the doctor believed that Cassidy's strange symptoms were due to encephalitis, which is inflammation in the brain. But Cassidy never responded to treatment, and on February 28th, she died. The doctor ordered an autopsy, which revealed that Cassidy wasn't sick with encephalitis. Instead, she died from a severe head injury. The police immediately investigated how Cassidy had gotten such a serious head wound, and the girl's parents quickly pointed to the babysitter, Christine Falling. In an interview with the police, Christine provided an explanation for Cassidy's head injury. She had climbed out of her crib and fallen to the floor, knocking her unconscious. But Christine did not explain why she hadn't told the parents about the injury when they came to pick up their daughter. The story didn't add up, but the police didn't have any hard evidence that Christine was lying, and they had no choice but to close the investigation. Meanwhile, Christine decided to do what any innocent person would do. She immediately fled town and relocated to Lakeland, Florida. Once she was safely away from the rumors back in her hometown of Perry, she began to advertise her babysitting services again. It was only 2 months before another child died while being looked after by Christine, 4-year-old Jeffrey Davis. Unlike Cassidy, who fought for her life for 3 days, Jeffrey died quickly and suddenly. Because Jeffrey had no medical conditions and there had been no warning signs leading to his death, his body was autopsied. The only abnormality the medical examiner found was myocarditis, inflammation of the heart, which was unlikely to be the cause of Jeffrey's death. Jeffrey's funeral was held 3 days later, and his uncle and aunt needed a babysitter for their own toddler so that they could attend the service. For the second time in a week, a young child was left in the care of Christine Falling, and, once again, the child died. According to Christine, Jeffrey's cousin was taking a nap, but never woke up. The toddler's physician suggested that Jeffrey and his younger cousin might have both caught the same viral infection, leading to their sudden deaths. Some unknown viral infection. It was only a matter of time before the residents of Lakeland figured out that the two children had died in the care of the same babysitter. Before they had a chance to make the connection, Christine moved back home to Perry. She knew she wouldn't be able to get another babysitting job, so she worked as a housekeeper for Wilbur Swindle, an elderly man with severe disabilities. This job only lasted 1 day. Within hours of Christine arriving at Wilbur's house, the old man dropped dead in the kitchen. Due to his poor health and old age, local police never looked into the death, believing it was just a heart attack. Within weeks of Wilbur Swindle's sudden death, Christine was invited to go shopping with her stepsister. Her stepniece, 8-month-old Jennifer, came with them. Christine's stepsister decided that she would quickly run into the supermarket, leaving Christine alone in the car with Jennifer. But when she returned to the car minutes later, she found Christine panicking and her daughter unresponsive. Christine told her that Jennifer had suddenly stopped breathing. Because of Jennifer's age, doctors believed that her cause of death was sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS, and the case was never investigated. Christine Falling was followed by a string of mysterious deaths, but despite making almost no effort to hide her involvement, she'd been very lucky. All of the deaths appeared to be of somewhat natural causes: a viral infection, a heart attack, sudden infant death syndrome. It was only a year later, when Christine was babysitting a 10-week-old baby, that her luck finally ran out. It was the same story that Christine had told every time. It was the 2nd of July, 1982, and Christine was caring for newborn Travis Coleman when he suddenly stopped breathing. Travis's grieving parents didn't believe that their healthy baby had suddenly died of natural causes, and they agreed to have their son's body autopsied. The autopsy found no sign of illness or disease, but the medical examiner found undeniable evidence that Travis Coleman had died of suffocation. There was no chance that his death had been an accident. The 10-week-old baby had been murdered, and Christine Falling had been alone with him when he died. Local police immediately paid Christine a visit. During her interrogation, Christine quickly confessed that she had killed 3 of the children by holding a blanket over their noses and mouths, a method that she called smotheration. According to Christine, she had murdered the babies in response to the overwhelming voices that she heard in her head, which repeatedly chanted, "Kill the baby, kill the baby." She eventually did what the voices asked, and chose suffocation as her method of killing, because she said she had seen it while watching television shows. She described smothering the babies as being simple and easy, telling the officer that no one would hear them scream. Not only had Christine confessed to the crimes, but she also seemed to be remorseless of her actions. She was convicted of murder and sentenced to life behind bars, with no chance of parole for at least 25 years. Apart from wanting to obey the voices in her head, Christine was never able to give a clear motive for the killings. It seemed as if she simply had the urge to kill, and saw no problem with following through on that urge. Even though she was recognized as being intellectually handicapped and mentally ill, Christine was never found to be legally insane. Her application for parole was rejected in 2017, and her next hearing will be in 2024. That is 10-Minute Murder for today. Brief and bingeable true crime. My name is Joe, and I'm the host of this podcast, and I really appreciate you taking the time to listen. And if you're brand new to 10-Minute Murder, welcome. Make yourself comfortable. Keep your feet off the coffee table. As a matter of fact, use a coaster. You know what? Scratch that. Don't use a coaster. Put your feet up anywhere you want to. Leave your shoes on. I don't care. But what I do ask is if you are new, make sure you subscribe before you leave the podcast, right? Just go ahead and do it right now. Subscribe so that you can catch up on all of the back episodes more easily. And plus, when new ones come, they're going to come right to you, and you don't have to search for the podcast every time. So anywhere you're listening right now, subscribe to 10 Minute Murder. And connect with me on social media, and you'll see the pictures there of what we talk about here in the podcast. Joe, is it gross? Is it graphic? No, it is not. So you don't have to worry about that. Links are in the show notes of this episode, or you can just go to whatever app you're trying to find the show in, type in 10 Minute Murder, and it's going to pop right up. And if you're looking for a way that you can support this podcast, help it grow, which why would you not want to do that, right? You can share this episode or this show with anyone that you think might be into brief true crime stories like this one. And that's how the show grows. You show it to more people, you let them know about it, more people listen, and then boom, it just like a domino effect. More and more people listen. Also, you can leave rating and reviews on Apple, Spotify, any place that's possible. That also helps the show grow as well. And plus, I like hearing your positive feedback. Who doesn't like hearing good things about themselves and things that they work hard on? So heck yeah, do that too. All right, that's it. That is 10 Minute Murder for today. Thank you for listening.